You know that we've been talking about toxic personalities. We've talked about narcissism. We have talked about borderline personalities, and we have talked about antisocial personality types, or what you sometimes refer to in your life as psychopaths or sociopaths. It's kind of the same thing. Sometimes the word psychopath is used to describe those that are on the more serious end of the behavioral continuum for antisocial personality. And we're talking about those people that don't have the ability to feel remorse. We're talking about those people that get aggressive. They weaponize all of these things that we've given a voice to. I've been talking about these things because I've heard from so many of you, and I've been getting such great feedback from all of you. Thank you so much for that. I've gotten such great feedback that I've asked each one of you to contact at least one person to share this with. You know, that's how I wound up doing this, by the way. I never had any intention of being on television. Just a personal note here. I never had any intention of being on television. I was in the litigation arena, never gave an interview, never wanted to give an interview, never had any intention of being on television. I represented, from a trial science perspective, a lot of really high profile individuals and entities. And one of those, as you probably know the story by now, I represented Oprah in the Mad Cow case up in Amarillo. The way I wound up being on her show is she said, I've made a commitment to my viewers that anything I find in my life that I think has made a real difference, I'll share with you, whether it's a hairdryer or somebody I meet or a strategy or whatever. If it's made a huge difference in my life, I'm going to come and share it with you. I was very flattered when she said DrPhil McGraw made a huge difference in my life. I was in this trial and I really lost myself, and he gave myself back to me. He was very straight talking and didn't mince any words, and really gave me a wake-up call at a time that I needed it, and gave myself back to me. He didn't tell me what I wanted to hear, and it wasn't easy to hear what he had to say, but it was at a time I needed to hear it. We were in the foxhole. We were behind enemy lines, and they were coming after me. Talk about a redistribution of wealth. They wanted to take what was mine and split it up among themselves, and I had no idea why I was there because I hadn't done anything wrong. He gave me a wake-up call, and we prevailed. We prevailed because we dealt with the truth. We were not in denial, and we applied ourselves to the challenge at the time. That's how I wound up on the Oprah Winfrey Show. She said, I promised people I'm going to share the things that have made a difference in my life. You're one of those things. I need to share you with them. And as the old saying goes, the rest is history. That's what I want you to do. If this is making a difference in your life, I assume you have subscribed to this podcast. If you haven't, you should. And if it's made a difference in your life, share it with somebody you love. Tell them, look, I've gotten involved in something here that's taught me who the toxic people are in my life. I've found some information that's helped me categorize these people, understand these people, and in some situations have compassion for them. You know, one of the things I said when we talked about borderline personality people is recognize they're toxic, but at the same time, have some compassion for them because they're miserable. They don't want to be that way. You know, I haven't said to you to be harsh with these people or judge them, but just to protect yourself. One of the things I want you to know as we're talking about these people is I'm not telling you they're bad people. I'm telling you they do bad things. When I say that these are toxic personalities, it doesn't mean they're evil human beings. It doesn't mean that they're second-class citizens. It just means that their level of adjustment is such that they're toxic in your life. I'm not asking you to say, I'm putting myself in a position where I'm better than these people or I'm sitting in judgment of them. I'm just saying protect yourself. And let me give you an example. I think life is largely about intentions. I mean, doesn't it matter when somebody does something? Don't you want to know what their intention was? Think about this. If somebody's backing out of the driveway and you're standing there and they run over and crush your foot, if they did it on purpose, they saw you standing there, they were upset with you, they swerved the car over and crushed your foot on purpose. That's different than if they didn't see you and it was purely an accident. Does it matter that one had a bad intent and the other didn't have a bad intent at all? Yes, it does make a difference. However, your foot is just as crushed either way, right? Your foot is crushed just as bad either way. Now, I had a friend in my life when I was growing up, and this guy, I'm telling you, it was like he had a cloud over his head. It just seemed like drama followed him around. No matter what happened, no matter where we went, it just seemed like something bad always happened. Something got broken, a fight broke out, conflict. We could be at the Y swimming. Before you know it, he's involved in somebody hitting their head on the diving board. Did he push him? No, but was he involved? Yes. We would ride our motorcycles and there would be a crash. I mean, did he crash the other motorcycles? No. But was he involved in the crash? Yes. It was like he was always in the middle of catastrophe. Now, here's the thing. And my mother said this to me real clearly. She said, look, he's a good kid. There's no question about it. But I'm telling you, you hang around with him. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's not a matter of if you're going to get caught up and be in the crash, be in the drama, get in the fight. It's the matter of when it's going to happen, not if. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. It just seems to follow him around. Now, it would be indiscreet for me to say his name, Jojo, and she was right. He's been a friend forever, but somehow or another, Jojo just seems to attract this stuff. He could be sitting alone in a chair, and somehow or another, the leg would break and a splinter would fly in somebody's eye and a fight would break. Something would happen. I asked you in the last podcast that we did, and I hope these feel like conversations and not presentations because I've wanted us to have a discussion. I've asked you to do an audit, and I'm not asking you to sit in judgment. I'm just asking you to acknowledge, do you have these people in your life? And if you do, whether the intent is there or whether it's not, you have to make up your mind as to whether or not you're willing to put yourself at risk or whether you're not. Because I want you to have a winning strategy in your life. And that means you've got to make some hard decisions. Now, what did I say last time? I said that it begins with you having an image, deciding who you are. Deciding who you are and being consistent with that every step of the way. Being consistent with who you are every step of the way. I'm going to talk about that next week as well in a little bit of a different context. But you have to decide who you are, who you want to be. And part of that image needs to be that you have the right to have boundaries in your life. Now, you may decide that you're going to be assertive. You may decide that you're going to be more motivated. You're going to take greater initiative or whatever. And I said, I wanted you to star in your own life. You remember that? I said, I want you to decide, look, this is no dress rehearsal. We don't get a second pass through this world. This is it. This is not a dress rehearsal, and they're going to come along and say, okay, you had that 50 years, now let's start over. We're going to get a second bite at the apple. No, you don't get a second bite at the apple. This is it. This is it. But I do believe in second chances. And you may not get to do the last 30 years over, the last 40 years over. But if you're 40 years old, you've lived over 10,000 days. And I'm just saying, let's do the next 10,000 with a different attitude. Decide who you want to be. Decide that you're going to star in your own life. And, I said, you may think, okay, Dr. Phil, you got your own television show. You got your own massive podcast here. You've got this life in Hollywood. So it's easy to talk about being a star. That's not what I'm talking about. If you're a teacher, star in your own life as a teacher. If you're a plumber, star in your own life as a plumber. Be a star in your own life. I didn't say be a diva. I said be a star. Take pride in what you do. Take pride in what you do. I think it's really, really important that everything you do, you're someone that says, I do what I do with pride and commitment. That's very, very important in you having a strategy moving forward.